Hey guys, in this video, I will be talking about the movie Cuties. I will be summarizing the entire plot and then giving my review. So please stop watching if you don't want any spoilers, because this video will be jam-packed with them. I would also recommend stepping away if you are not comfortable hearing mentions of. But if you're ready, then let's get started. The story begins with our main character, 11-year-old Aminata, or Ami, who is moving into a new apartment with her mother and two younger brothers. She appears to be dissatisfied with her life, as she has to share a room with her brother, Ishmael, to give room to another resident that will be mentioned later. We witness Ami going through a regular routine of engaging in Muslim practices with the elder women of her community, but she looks towards other younger children who are playing to the side, as Ami longs for more fun in her daily life. After this scene, Ami runs into another girl named Angelica, or Angie for short, who is dancing provocatively in the laundry room. Unbeknownst to Angie, Ami is watching her in what seems to be curiosity and admiration. And once Angie does take notice of Ami, Angie does not look shocked or embarrassed. Instead, she gives Ami this sort of smug smirk that makes Ami run away. Though the two exchange no words with each other at this point, Ami is already intrigued by Angie's dance moves and tries to replicate them at her own place, even going so far as to do this ironing trick with her hair that looks very unsafe, and in fact it is unsafe, since it causes some of Ami's hair to fall out. We eventually see Ami during her first day of school, where she is standing alone at recess and discovers Angie on the playground rounding up 3 other students, all of them dressed in inappropriate clothes for people their age. For some reason that I'm still not sure about, the girls and everyone else on the playground strike a pose and remain still for a long period of time before one of the teachers forces them to stop. It's as odd as it sounds, but Ami found it empowering. Seeing those girls be confident in their own skin is something she secretly wanted herself, although I wouldn't say standing still is a good example of that. When Ami returns home, she overhears her mother informing a family member that her husband has decided to have a second wife and will be having a wedding. The mother is visibly shaken by this, but her aunt informs her to tell everyone about this news, so she will not be shamed later on. Ami is hidden underneath the bed when she hears this news and must stay quiet, but the viewers witness her silently crying along with her mother over her father's betrayal. The scene moves on to Ami walking with Ishmael and her other infant brother. Ami conveniently finds Angie and her entourage dancing below the sidewalk, and she asks Ishmael to hold their infant brother before peeking at the group of girls below. They're practicing their dance moves that were similar to the ones Angie was performing back in the laundry room. And once again, Ami looks entranced. But when the girls discover Ami spying on them, they all yell and swear at her very harshly, going so far as to even throw stones at her head until she leaves. One of them manages to strike Ami with a stone, and the girls cheer victoriously. The bullying doesn't stop there, as we see Ami encounter the girls once more at recess. Everyone, with the exception of Angie, tease her about the bruise they made from the stone that hit her, and physically assault her by hitting her in the head and knocking down her books. Angie runs up to the bullies and tells them to stop, but they're just having too much fun messing with Ami. Angie looks frustrated with her friends, and Ami picks up her fallen books and leaves. Angie appears to have made a change of heart, but it's so abrupt that I wasn't even convinced that it was real. But the movie continues to push it by having Ami help Angie outrun her older brother in the apartment complex. The brother appears furious with Angie, and Angie and Ami rush into the laundry room and lock it. The brother eventually leaves them alone, and Angie notices the bruise on Ami's head. Unlike the other girls who bullied her for it, Angie instead uses detergent and her own saliva to coat the bruise to try and mend it. Ami is touched by this. We head back to another day in school where Ami is in the bathroom stall overhearing the other girls talk about what was basically assault. They're making ludicrous assumptions about what is considered And I believe Angie goes on to mention how she's seen her brother's private part before, which is played off for laughs but struck me as a huge red flag. Ami greets the girls soon enough, and they all convince her to try and record one of the male student's private parts as he's in the men's bathroom. Why? Just for fun. But Ami botches this completely due to her nervousness. Despite Ami's failed attempt at recording the male student, Angie wants her to help record her and her friends dancing in the same place before where they threw stones at Ami. Ami agrees to this and records the girls who, again, are performing way too adult-like. Angie later reveals to Ami why she needed the recording, because she wants to beat another team in a dancing competition. I forgot to mention that while all of this is going on, Ami's mother and aunt are preparing to welcome Ami's dad and his second wife to the home by setting up a bedroom for them. This explains what I said earlier about Ami having to share a room with Ishmael to accompany someone else. The whole family must prepare a great wedding for the couple, in spite of Ami's misgivings about the whole situation. Ami and Angie play around in the spare bedroom by eating gummy bears and jumping on the bed, furthering their friendship with one another. Ami appears to be growing closer to the group, but even then, their jabs at her often occur. They begin to judge her body for how flat it is and give her the nickname homeless for... I really don't know. What then proceeds are what I like to call a series of random events just mushed together. These scenes serve little to no purpose in the story and are easily forgettable. The first one involves the group of girls trying to flirt with older boys, but Ami slips out that they're all 11 years old, and the boys are disgusted and run off. The second scene has the girls playing outside, and one of the side characters, Kumba, finds a condom, to which the girls scream and back away from her. According to the girls, a condom is what people with AIDS use during sex, and if you touch one, you'll get AIDS. Kumba becomes distressed by this news and sheds a few tears before having her tongue scrubbed to remove any diseases. The last scene is actually important to the plot, but can be just as forgettable for how short it is. The girl that you probably never saw in the promotional posters or trailers for this movie, Yasmin, has the group over at her house to video chat with strangers online. They have their webcam and microphone off, so the man they're talking to doesn't know what they look or sound like. But Yasmin plays a trick on Angie by handing the laptop over to her and turning on all the settings, so Angie is viewed by the stranger. The stranger recognizes that Angie is a little girl, and repulsed by this, he shames them for being online talking to strangers. Everyone is furious at Yasmin for pulling this prank and stomp out of her room. Because of this prank, Yasmin is exiled from the clique, and Ami takes her place. Although Yasmin was the fourth member who was in their dancing team, Ami convinces Angie and the others that she has the ability to dance just like them by showing more explicit routines, even bringing up a new dance move, which is basically twerking. There is a whole montage with Latin music in the background of the girls practicing how to twerk, with close-ups of their behinds in tight jeans, and Ami is training them to be expert twerkers by patting their behinds or raising them up higher. This appears to be a bonding experience amongst all the girls, which should be a sign that they're all really good friends now, right? Well, they have an audition to attend for the competition, but Ami is late to it because of her responsibilities at home. She is forced by her aunt to cut up onions early in the morning to prepare a large feast for her father's wedding. And after that's done, she's told to do another chore, but runs off to the audition instead. However, she's late and overhears the girls talking badly about her. When they reunite, the girls are just as mean as they were in the beginning, snapping in her face and yelling like the bullies they are. But Angie, being the sweet friend, realizes Ami didn't mean to be late and forgives her. To get over their argument, the girls sneak into a laser tag arena and pretend to play by using their hands as guns, and the group fall atop one another in one more bonding moment. Before the girls can leave, they are stopped by a guard who tells them he must have their phones so he can call their parents. They yell at him and accuse him of being a before another guard steps in and tries to break up the fight. This is where the blonde girl, Jessica, receives a message that their team was accepted into the competition, and they all squeal in excitement. When the second guard asks why they're reacting in that way, Ami says that they are dancers, and to prove this, she twerks in front of these two adult guards, with her back facing them, so her behind is on full display. The second guard looks uncomfortably aroused by the display, and says that they can leave. And while they try to pass off the first guard as being more righteous, I wouldn't think so. Anyone who doesn't immediately stop a girl from displaying such a sexual act isn't considered a good person in my book. Fast forward, and it's another day at their school, where Ami walks in looking like this movie's version of the plastics from Mean Girls. A top that shows her stomach and skin-tight leggings. Everyone in the school, including former member Yasmin, looks on in either disgust or intrigue. Ami's group of friends, Angie, Jessica, and Kumba, all cheer her on for her new look. However, when it is recess, they encounter what I believe were their opponents in the competition, and one of their opponents chucks a soda can at them. Ami is so angry at this, she rushes over to the girl and pulls at her hair, only to fall to the ground and have another girl yank down her pants to show off her underwear to the public. The children mock her and record her as she continues to fight the girl who threw the can, and it is only thanks to Ami's friends that she releases the other girl. Ami's friends aren't pleased with this at all, saying that she humiliated all of them for what she did, including showing her underwear. To make up for this, Ami steals her mother's money and goes on a shopping spree with the girls and her brother Ishmael. This spree is presented as the major climax of the film to me, with opera music playing in the background as they are running in the streets in slow motion, covered in bras and underwear, carrying multiple shopping bags without a care in the world. They feel on top of the world, but at the expense of their own innocence. The following scene is Ami confronting a man who I was pretty sure was her father, but I also heard was just a family friend. Either way, I'm not going to watch this movie again, so I'll just explain what happened. This man finds out that Ami stole his phone at the beginning of the movie, and he asks her to give it back to him. In response, Ami, for some reason, slowly removes her sweater and unbuttons her jeans, but this man isn't having it. Although he pauses for a moment, he ultimately pushes her and yells for his phone again. So Ami runs into the bathroom, and before giving back the phone, takes a photo of her private parts and sends it somewhere on his phone, so I can assume he can be accused of having. This whole scene screamed an out-of-character moment, even for Ami at this point. But I suppose the writers wanted you to witness her descent into depravity, and how far she's willing to go to get what she wants. Ami's strange behavior persists in the next scene, where we finally get a scene in a classroom at her school instead of recess or a bathroom. When she's called up by the teacher, a male student smacks her on her behind, and to retaliate for her being assaulted, she grabs a pen and stabs it right through the boy's hand. While I don't oppose anyone of fighting back when they're being touched that way, Ami is clearly building up serious anger issues from spending time with the other girls. Ami's mother is told about the incident at school and slaps Ami for it, saying that she is no longer her daughter, and proceeds to wash away her sins by splashing water onto her body. What followed was what I believe the most disturbing part of the movie, because during this scene we get a 360 view shot of Ami convulsing her body in only a spaghetti-strapped top and underwear, and the camera angles give you a clear close-up view of certain parts of her body that I found uncomfortable to look at, all while you hear Ami making intelligible noises in a dimly lit room. Ami later tries to convince the girls to practice dancing again for the competition, but they're still mad at her for the time she showed her underwear, even though it wasn't her fault. Because of this, Ami is pushed to the side just like Yasmin. And speaking of which, Yasmin is brought back into picture as the returning fourth member. Ami tries to fix things with Angie back at the apartment complex, but Aunt Angie tells her that she can't be her friend in front of the others, but could still be a friend in private. Listen, if anyone tells you this, you drop them right away. This is not a good friend, and Angie is no different than those other girls. However, Ami is relentless and squeezes Angie so tightly that Angie has to beg her to let go. It looks like Ami has grown so attached to Angie and the others, there's no telling what she would do to stay in their good graces. Well, we find out shortly after how demented Ami can go. She sneaks up on Yasmin, who is on her way to compete in the competition, and shoves her into a river so she could take a place once again in the team. Ami at this point has gone from a shy, innocent girl to a cold-hearted follower. So, we finally make it to the end of the movie, and Ami joins the group again. Angie, Jessica, and Kumba are all surprised to see her, but say that Ami was a better dancer than Yasmin anyways. So, they just go along with it and go on stage to perform. This is what Netflix's first promo poster was showing, this final dance at the competition. Apparently, the girls are performing so well that it has some of the judges looking on in a disgustingly perverted manner. But some audience members aren't having it and shake their head in disapproval. You'd imagine that through all of this drama to get here, Ami and her friends would become champions of this competition. Well, you'd be wrong. Because in the middle of their routine, Ami has a powerful realization. We never hear explicitly what it was, but you can imagine Ami realized along the line that this life of twerking wasn't who she truly was. And after having this moment on stage, she runs off while the other girls are calling out for her in distress. Ami returns to her home where her father's wedding is being celebrated. I don't think he got married to the second wife at this point, but there are already so many people there to congratulate the happy couple. But Ami, in her inappropriate dancing attire, goes to her mother and cries, wishing that she doesn't leave her for the wedding celebration. The mother calmly tells Ami that she doesn't have to attend the wedding herself, and she walks away, signifying that she is giving Ami some freedom to be herself. Ami then changes out of her clothes and dresses up into something much more appropriate as she walks out of her apartment and finds some kids to play jump rope with. And with that, the camera pans slowly upwards and we see Ami jumping in the frame, symbolizing her detachment from the other girls and the toxic life that she was once living. So, what do I think about the movie? You might have guessed from the minor jabs I took during the breakdown, but just to be clear, I did not enjoy Cuties at all. The main reason being the obvious exploitation of young girls. Throughout my breakdown, I was very careful not to show them in inappropriate positions, and the photos that showed them in skimpy outfits were few and far between. Trust me, the way these girls are filmed make you feel like a pervert. There are close-up shots of their behinds, their chest, their legs spread open, them touching up on one another. It is absolutely nonsensical to portray on film. Some scenes just go out of their way to be very sexual, like when Angie used her spit to fix Ami's bruise. That scene had a clear shot of Angie using this giant glob on that thing, and it was gross. But a lot of people are focusing on this huge mistake, which is reasonable. So I want to step away for just a moment and talk more about the movie in general. I'll try to ignore the obvious flaws and give critiques on what positives and negatives this film had going for it. There were surprisingly a few elements of the film that I did like, albeit minor. If it were executed better, it could have made the story a lot more powerful. Like Ami's side plot with her dad taking a second wife. That scene where she's crying under the bed while her mother cries too is very emotional. You feel like a child alongside Ami upon hearing that your family is breaking apart, and you feel sorry that this girl had to witness it happen through an authentic lens of her mother blaming herself for the separation. The mother was also a positive element, as we see her trying to stay strong to not look weak among her peers, which could look like a brave matriarch, but for Ami, it could be seen as a walking doormat who doesn't have love for herself enough
to openly go against this marriage. When the mom finds out about Ami's stabbing incident in school, she says something about how her father will blame her for how Ami turned out. Ami's mother has the whole world on her shoulders, and it is touched upon nicely, but it couldn't be appreciated with how ridiculous everything else was. Another thing I liked was how the ending has Ami turn away from the group of girls and not make them stay friends. All of them were terrible people, and at the very least, they weren't given their happy ending of winning the dance competition. But that's the most I can say about my likes for cuties. Now let's get into the dislikes. Editing wise, this movie was awful. I've counted many times how scenes would feel jumped atop one another, not giving them enough time to breathe. I thought of a lot of scenes that could have been more fleshed out. Like, for example, Ami is given a phone to talk to her dad, but she refuses to speak with him. So instead, she deliberately drops the phone out of the window. The scene ends right after that. And you're left with this feeling like, what? So there was no repercussions for this. The mother doesn't even bat an eye. She just stares at Ami before the scene changes. And given what we know about her, she doesn't look like that kind of mom to just brush that behavior off. Your daughter broke a phone that wasn't hers right in front of you, and all you can do is look at her like, huh, that was weird, but whatever. I know many moms who'd immediately smack their child upside the head for that nonsense. Maybe worse.
If you look back at the stabbing incident at school, right after Ami stabs the boy for touching her, we cut to the mom slapping her at home. It was very jarring for me knowing how quick they switched from one scene to the next. I wanted to know if Ami went to the principal, how the mom reacted to the phone call, how the heck Ami was able to leave the house in her outfit without her mom knowing. It just feels like a series of random events going from one location to the next. Next thing that was apparent was how much I loathe these characters. Every single girl was unbearable besides the obvious reasons. Excluding Ami, all of them bullied her right from the beginning, and I hated how they tried to make Angie look like the sweet friend, when if you look back at the time they threw stones at her, Angie is clearly joining in on it. These characters deserve to be more dimensional, because bullies can be well liked. Some of the most popular characters in entertainment are bullies, but these girls did not have any charm about them that made me want to like them. I seriously don't get how Ami was immediately interested in befriending them. They weren't the only girls at school, and at the end of the movie, we see Ami play with nice girls. So what was stopping her from just meeting new people? I needed a reason for why Ami wanted to be friends with these particular girls and why no other girls would suffice. There were glimmers of hope for more dimension in these girls and why they grew up being so disrespectful and sexual. Angie, especially, had tons of chances to expand upon her character, with how it is implied that her older brother abuses her. They have a toxic relationship, and at one point while they're fighting, I could have sworn the brother was going to abuse her right in front of Ami. Angie even cries to Ami about how her brother and her are the only ones at home because her parents are neglectful. More evidence to theorize that she was being abused while the parents were away. She does his laundry, saw his private parts, and casually gets thrown around by him. And yet, nothing comes out of this. As a woman from a Hispanic background, I've witnessed parents encouraging sexual behavior towards their daughters. So Angie, and even Yasmin, who I'm sure was also Hispanic, could have been representations of the consequences of sexualizing your daughters. Yasmin's mom is present in one scene and appears totally cool with the fact that her daughter and friends are dressed up so inappropriately. I thought that maybe they'd mention how the mom is desensitized to this sexual behavior, much like many adults. Because having little girls dressed in tube tops, tight leggings, dyed hair, and makeup is so cute. Kumba and Jessica are barely touched upon at all with their backstories. And although you don't have to reveal every single thing about a person, the hope that I saw made me want to learn more. But with Jessica, we get nothing. I know nothing about her home life. But the promo poster that was criticized before the movie was released had me thinking that Jessica would be the main character. Feel free to check out the poster yourself, because I won't be including it in here. And notice the way she's posing so triumphantly. standing up tall with her arm raised, making me think that she will be the one going through the biggest character arc. Meanwhile, Ami, our real protagonist, is crouched down with a more passive look on her face. I'm convinced that this was a marketing strategy for more people to watch the movie so that they'd be excited for Jessica's growth instead of Ami's. But no, Jessica is simply another girl who is mean. Downright mean. There is no other quality to her than that. At least I can argue that Kumba shows more charisma and growth with how she treats Ami, because she's not innocent either. Kumba is arguably the biggest instigator who revels in hurting Ami when they first meet her. And it could have been an interesting take on how some black women often feel threatened by other women of their background. So they try to bully them instead of being a supportive sister. I hated Kumba, and I still do. But in the condom scene where she cries about being ostracized by her peers, I saw a scared little girl who just wanted to fit in. That could have been a major turn for Kumba in how she treated Ami. Maybe have an extra scene where she apologizes to Ami for her behavior, or have the two share a bonding moment like Ami did with Angie to signify growth in their relationship. But you know how this works. Right after she cried, it's as if nothing happened. As for Ami herself, she has some good qualities, but in the end, you're left thinking that this girl is a menace to society. I've seen girls like her, girls who were bullied or felt left out, so they conform to fit in, and as a result, become bullies themselves. Mean Girls actually depicts this, and in a much clearer way. Their lead character recently moves to a new school and befriends a group of mean girls because they stood up for her on the first day of school when she was being teased by another student. She felt in debt to them, despite their rude little jabs, but they're disguised as compliments, so it's hard to accuse them of being bullies. It isn't until the main character is betrayed that she decides to go against them and eventually evolve into a mean girl herself. When she realizes the damage she's done to herself and the school, she publicly apologizes and fixes her mistake, earning everyone's friendship again and becoming a more mature person. Ami, on the other hand, sees Angie dancing in the apartment complex, and that's the beginning of her obsession with her and the other girls. No words, no bonding, just looking at another person is enough to try and become them. That's not good enough. Why would Ami be disinterested in someone she doesn't know? Even when she sees the rest of the group and they bully her, she follows in their footsteps by wearing skimpy outfits and practicing raunchy dance moves. Befriending a bully doesn't just happen. In fact, befriending a bully doesn't start when they bully you. It starts when they are nice to you, because it gives you an incentive to stay with them and become one of them. It's like being with a toxic boyfriend or girlfriend. They know you'd never be with them if they were abusing you mentally and or physically, so they love bomb you first. I like your hair. You're so pretty. I never met anyone like you. Then, when they have you hooked, they criticize how you are and you're left insecure because you wonder how you could have failed so much at being their partner. And all you want to do is do more for them so that they like you again. That's how unhealthy relationships work. But if I were Ami and I never even spoke to these girls before they decided to hit me in the head with a rock, I would never aspire to be their friend. This makes Ami look like she's just looking for any reason to act out, and that makes you wonder why. The dad betraying the family is a good enough reason, but Ami doesn't know he's with another woman until after she meets the girls. This means that even if the second marriage didn't happen, Ami would still feel inclined to go the dark path. There's a line that her aunt tells her around the middle of the movie, which is something like, "Every child I've raised was obedient, except you." When all Ami has done by this point was talk back a couple of times and run away. Those are terrible things, sure, but I got the feeling that the aunt was taking into account her entire life, not just that one day Ami was rude. So I wondered, was Ami always disrespectful? Judging by the dropping the phone scene, she may have been. Did something cause her to act out like this? Judging by the scene where she took off her clothes for the man, that's possible. But nothing comes from this. We're led to believe that she was always this sweet, responsible girl before meeting Angie, Kumba, Jessica, and Yasmin. So the way she's depicted comes off like she's a very impulsive child who is selfish enough to break objects, frame someone for having nude photos of kids, steal money, and potentially kill someone to be well liked. I do not like Ami by the time this movie is over. The ending makes it appear like all of her problems are over and done with. But she did leave her group hanging during the competition. How will they react when they see her again? She framed a man for having nude photos of children. Will he go to jail? Will she be known as the assailant who pushed Jasmine? Point is, Ami has a long list of consequences waiting for her, and changing her clothes and jumping rope is not going to make them go away. Now that my main likes and dislikes are done, here are some ways I would have improved the movie to make it appeal to more audiences. Ami moves to a new place with her mom and brothers. She feels isolated from her old friends, and her mom won't allow her to carry a phone to connect with them. Because of this, Ami searches for new friends, but it's very hard since she's the new girl at school, and everyone already has their own cliques. She attempts to talk to one or two groups, but none of them seem interested in her. Ami fears that she'll be alone until she encounters Angie, Kumba, Jessica, and Yasmin. They're all dressed as proper 11-year-olds, but behave like rebellious teenagers, swearing, taking selfies, and messing with teachers. Ami knows their behavior is not appropriate, but she kind of admires it, since it's so uncommon, and it reveals how much she longs to have courage to do whatever she wants like they are. Ami has always been insecure about herself, and it gets worse when she learns that her father is having an affair with another woman and won't be moving in with the rest of the family like they had planned. He has decided to stay in their home country and marry the new woman. However, the mother encourages Ami to not think badly of her father and instead be grateful that he has found happiness. Ami agrees, but deep down is angry with her mother for how she does not express herself openly about this betrayal. Her mother looks too selfless for putting her image to the public above her true feelings. Ami needs a place to let out her anger, so she goes to the laundry room to vent, where she finds Angie washing some clothes. The two start to talk, and Angie recognizes Ami as the girl that was staring at them during recess. Ami wishes to befriend their group, but Angie is hesitant. She knows her friends can be a bit aggressive and warns Ami of this, but Ami doesn't care. She wants to find people to confide in. Just as expected, when Angie introduced Ami to the rest of the girls, they pick on her appearance and shy demeanor. Angie sticks up for Ami and begs the group to give her a chance. They do, but at a cost. Ami must be their personal filmmaker as they practice for a dance audition in the hopes of competing in a big contest. Ami does this with no complaints as the girls continue to take jabs at her, furthering her insecurities. Ami and Angie talk badly about the other girls when they are at their apartment, with Angie motivating Ami to stay strong because they won't stay like that for long. Soon they'll see how great you really are, Angie says, because they did that to Angie the previous year. Angie used to be in Ami's position, and now Angie is respected amongst the group. As long as Ami can withstand the bullying, she'll be accepted into their group in no time. A month later, Yasmin has an accident that causes her to end up in a leg cast, which angers the other girls, including Angie. They berate her for how stupid she was for getting so hurt so close to the auditions, and Ami looks horrified at how these girls lack little empathy for Yasmin. Even so, her desire to be liked along with the bond with Angie pushes her to not leave the group, but instead volunteer to be the new fourth member. The girls bond more when Ami is officially included in the Cuties dance team, and they comment on how much better she is at dancing than Yasmin, making Ami feel all the more special. However, with this, Ami picks up on their rebellious behavior. Ami steals a phone and uses it to communicate with them and talk to strangers online. Fast forward, and they are in the competition, but Ami starts getting in trouble at school. She is acting out more and starting fights with people who view her negatively for being friends with the other girls. Ami defends her group viciously by physically hitting, punching, and bullying towards those who talk badly about them.
These girls were there for Ami when she was at her lowest point, and nobody will stop that. But Ami's father comes to visit one day and notices his daughter acting out towards him and the rest of the family. He sits her down and apologizes for how he made her feel for marrying someone else. He's made phone calls with her mom about how stressed she is looking after the boys, that she can barely focus on Ami, and she's at a breaking point where she doesn't know how to get through to her. So the dad traveled to see Ami again and explains that although he's with someone else, he hasn't forgotten about his children. He knows that this has caused her great pain, and he will do anything he can to make it better. It doesn't make up for the suddenness of the marriage, but Ami can tell that her dad is trying to get through to her. So she hugs him anyway, and he leaves. Ami has lingering resentment, but begins to cry in private because deep down, she knows that what just happened gave her the message she always needed to hear, that she was always loved. Ami's behavior gets a little less aggressive, to which the girls are upset at this. They call her boring and no longer fun, but only keep her around for the competition. Ami tries to get through to Angie, who seemed to be her one true friend, but Angie tells her that she can't go against her group, but she could still be friends in private. This is revealing of Angie, who was once like Ami, but has decided to take the majority side just to be well liked. Ami is devastated and ignores them during school time, and only hangs out with them to practice dancing. This is when Ami meets some other students who are much more genuine and recognize her loneliness. They see past her tough look and care for her despite hanging out with mean girls, so they ask her if she could spend time with them over the weekend to play video games, but Ami turns it down. At the day of the competition, Ami is surprised to see Yasmin, fully healed and ready to perform with the other girls. The group tells Ami that Yasmin was a better dancer than her anyways, and they go dance while Ami is left feeling betrayed by her so-called friends. Ami and Angie share one last look with one another, showing their opposing sides, and Ami leaves disappointed. During the dance number, Angie makes several mistakes due to her guilt about betraying Ami, and because of this, the girls come in second place, which is a great position. Yet they all turn on Angie, who say they ruined their chances to get famous. The scene switches to Ami, where we find her at the house of one of the students who invited her to play games that weekend, and she walks inside to meet the other kids, showing how she left a toxic friendship for something more healthy, and thus finding more confidence in herself and the life that she is living. Well, this video has gone on much longer than I thought so before I go into other complaints, like how they only showed one scene of the second wife, how they implied Yasmin was pregnant, why Ami was so good in counting cereal, or how this movie can be a breeding ground for perverts to justify their interest in seeing kids in sexual things, I'll just end my video here. I'd like to hear your thoughts about the movie. I thought Cuties was terrible, even if you take the exploitation out. Do you agree with me? What scenes were most disturbing to you? How would you make the movie better? Should it be taken off Netflix? I'd really love to know because I've just exhausted all of my thoughts. So thank you so much for listening to my opinion, and please like and subscribe to my channel for more videos. It would help me a whole lot. Take care.